been in healthcare IT for about 23 years now, actually, doing this. A couple different places, but Beaufort Memorial Hospital, one thing I can tell you that we have that you do not have is an emergency dock. So we are right on the Intracoastal Waterway in South Carolina by Hilton Head Island. Beautiful place, just a community hospital. So from a reference perspective, maybe our scale is not as big as some of you guys are, but we have 1,400 employees, about 150 physicians that practice at the hospital. One of the things we, before meaningful use, we knew we wanted to implement CPOE. And so I got to this hospital about 3 years ago, and we started talking about what do we have to do, and we sort of had a legacy system that was clunky to use and a lot of workflow problems or whatever. But the reasons for CPOE, and everybody knows it's the same things, very serious reasons. And so I like to be serious with it as I talk about it. And so this was sort of our issue before, and everybody we already know why we want CPOE, and everybody knows that. So this is, for other crowds really, but one of the things, you improve the efficiencies and the reduction in errors and legibility and all those things. But what we really knew was that to get there, I think for us, it was really going to be more of a cultural change than technological. We can do a lot of things with the technology, but really it's the culture and it's the workflows and how can you improve those and how do you engage the providers and things. And so we knew that it was difficult for physicians to log into the different applications. We had our average physician, we did some time and motion studies, and we're like 7 or 8 applications that physicians logged into, and you think you're even in a very integrated environment, it's still that much, and we got some HR things, some personnel things, and a PAC system is one thing, things like that. So that was some of the challenges we were trying to overcome, and the length of time it took to go to all these workstations, what we were doing. But the technology part, the technological change and cultural change was the most difficult. So what we looked at was how do we get all these things accomplished, and how do we make it a little bit easier? Because engaging the physicians was going to be probably the priority for us to use the systems. We've done a lot of nice things in the past, and if you don't engage the users and have them use it, it's just been an IT experiment. And we didn't want that to be the case, and we kind of felt like with CPOE that we really had one chance to do it right and get the physicians the first time through. And so, we wanted to make sure we got the CPOE, improve efficiencies, reach meaningful use. Once that came about, we sort of started this initiative before that point, but those were some of our drivers for doing this. And the physicians, and I don't know, any of you guys physicians, you're all IT folks probably, things have really changed. With the hospitalist environment that you have today, and you don't have the family practice physicians so much in the hospital, and it's all about the volume. And so, our average hospitalist sees between 18 and 20 patients a day, and that group sees probably 60% of our inpatients. So, very, very busy. Anything we can do to help their efficiency is a big thing. But in the past, we always could sort of rely on the doctors to help us with implementations and builds on different things, and just to get advice, and have your physician advisory councils, and you could do it with nice lunch or a dinner or something. It just doesn't work anymore. I mean, the time is too valuable for everybody, and I totally get that. They want a work-life balance. So, one of the things that I definitely learned is we started compensating all the physicians that helped us with implementations on things. And what our goal was is what I sort of call the invisible solution for technology. And sort of to get that is our EMR in the middle, but we want to make sure we had plenty of workstation availability. We wanted the desktop roaming so that you had your workstation following you throughout the course of the day. We wanted to integrate a single sign-on solution with that to make it easier to log in so that we got a little bit more security out of it. Some authentication that we never had before, and then voice recognition, because as we did the documentation component, even though to some degree it's template documentation, there's still a lot of just ad hoc speaking on that stuff. So all of those things were cumbersome to log into. All those things are difficult to load on some of the computers and cause us problems. And that's what brought us to VMware. And it's just been a really elegant solution for us. So we've implemented that. We use zero-client devices everywhere. So we've sort of replaced that. We're about 2/3 done, replacing everything in the hospital with a zero-client device. Very secure, very elegant. I kind of like it. You get rid of all the clunk that you had before. The providers walk up, tap in with an RFID badge. They're authenticated to the network. They're authenticated to every application that we have. And they can open an application, and when they walk away and tap out, if you tap in at the next place, you're right where you were. And that workstation follows you around throughout the course of the day. Then what we do is at the end of the day, that expires. So the next morning when you come in, start your next shift, you're actually starting with a fresh PC again. So if somebody downloads something, does something to a workstation, it's not a problem at all. And one of the great things about the virtualized environment that I really like. Remember what we got next. So the desktop roaming, we've got 300 or so in now. We're just adding 300 more. And once we're finished with those, that'll be everything I call kind of our public areas, which are the patient rooms, the nurse workstations, where the physicians actually kind of round and sit at. And you know, there are the clinicians that come up, so dietitians that come up to the floor, or therapists or something. And for us, again, it's a matter of scale, but that'll be kind of all of our public workstations for that. And of course, different users have a different desktop based upon their role. And so their applications that they use are the ones that show up, so they're not all the same PC that they get. And then they just walk around and tap the badge and go. So this is sort of where we got from that. I mean, it is much, much faster. Before we had, and I think probably a lot of us have had that, in a lot of those areas, you just had generically logged in PCs because people weren't going to log into AD every time they got up and walked away, especially physicians. It just took too long, and really wanted to get them on there. So this is so much nicer. Your first authentication of the day might be 20 to 25 seconds, you know, and there's actually using the technology right. I mean, using the right fast cache on the SAN and everything, and the flash drives makes a big difference, and the things boot really, really quickly. The subsequent logins of the day, once you got your PC running, it's probably 5, 6, 7 seconds, you know, on average, which that's pretty quick. I mean, most people do not complain about that. Definitely has helped engage the physicians, you know, and in fact, one of the things that I've said before is I had a physician tell me about 6 months ago, said, finally you're doing something for me instead of to me. And that's probably the best compliment you can get about an IT project, you know, and that you know that you've made that technology a little bit invisible. They just want to do their job, take care of patients, but have that information available to them when they need it and where they need it. You know, what I like is the security compliance and some of the things we're able to do. So now you have safe harbor. We have devices out there with no storage on them at all. You know, no operating system, no drives, nothing. And so I don't have to worry about one of those walking out of the environment as we have it today. And the CPOE adoption, I think it was key for us, that both the single sign-on and the virtual desktop that roams around with the physician is to get them engaged and use it. So we knew culturally for us that was still going to be the most difficult thing, is getting CPOE live, and it's not just the mechanics of using the system, but it's what that means to everybody else, the folks in the lab and everyone else. So we didn't do all the physicians at one time. We phased them in by groups, essentially. But we did start with the groups, the hospitalists, our hospitalist group, which is pretty big, doing those. OBGYNs now are going. We've got some of our other specialists on there, and we should have everybody by the end of 12 is what we're shooting for. But it's gone well, and we did meet meaningful use last year, so we were able to attest in fiscal year 11, and already have some money back from that, which is great. So I think that that was, here's the quote from the physician, so this is us two together here, you know, and you can get to that point. But